Okay, so this is our Confident Lady Boss series, our second session in October. Our talk tonight is fear, what scares people. So the theme for this month has been eliminate entrepreneurial fear to freedom. And Janet, I know that you've been on here before and you are an entrepreneur as well as working full time, and you are in the essential oils business. So you are a wellness advocate. And
Correct.
so when we talk about fear, tonight I want to really talk about the types of fear that we have. And this is going to be a very intimate discussion because it's just the two of us. And I really want to know from you, being an entrepreneur, because there's three types of fear that we all could face.
Okay.
And that paralyze us. And I know for myself, I'll share my story, that fear is what's had kept me in a corporate job, and that I finally exited last year to really realize, or what should I say, the word is really to follow my passion and be a full-time entrepreneur. But fear is what held me back. So what would you say, Janet, is your number one, or what are some entrepreneurial fears that people face?
Content, what to post, go live, don't go live. Is anybody, like what I'm sharing? Oh, somebody's coming on.
Sarah. Oh my God. Hi, Sarah. Sarah. Hi, Sarah. And then an iPhone. Who's the iPhone who's on tonight? Hi, Sarah.
Hello. Hold on.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead. And then we have an iPhone person, whoever that is. That's not you, right, Sarah?
Nope, that's not me.
Okay. Who's the iPhone?
Hello, iPhone.
Hello, iPhone. Welcome. So, Sarah, thank you so much. So, Sarah, we didn't do an introduction because Janet and I know each other, but Janet, why don't you share with Sarah what you do? You're located in Milford, Connecticut, so she's in my hometown. Sarah, tell Sarah what you do.
Okay. Hi, Sarah. Nice to meet you.
Hi.
I am an passionate essential oil user and distributor and educator. And I'm a full-time bookkeeper by day for a graphic design company. And I'm working a side passion and dream of full-time oily entrepreneur.
Awesome.
I love it.
You're an oily entrepreneur. I love it. Oily entrepreneur. Okay. Awesome.
Oily entrepreneur.
Okay. And Sarah actually spoke at one of our sessions here. So I don't know if you were on when Sarah spoke. She talked about monetized chaos. So I don't know if you might not have been on. It was a great discussion. So Sarah, why don't you introduce yourself to Janet since she doesn't know who you are?
Yeah, hi Janet. Great to connect.
Yes.
And happy to be on here. I almost missed it.
Thank you.
I'm the founder of the Savvy Networker, and the long and short of it is I help entrepreneurs connect authentically with other entrepreneurs and people in the community to establish relationships that help them build their business, sell their product, collaborate, whatever it may be, through the power of educational networking events.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Sarah. So yes, Sarah is definitely a networker. She, hi, Lachelle. So Lachelle Atkins, who's been on before, she's all the way from Georgia. So Sarah and Lachelle know each other. Janet,
Hi,
just
Lachelle.
so you know.
Hey,
Hi, Lachelle. With the kids in the car. How many kids do you have in the car?
And who's driving? You better not be typing.
I know. All right. Well, welcome, Lachelle. Thank you for joining us tonight. So in continuing our theme, eliminate entrepreneurial fear to freedom. Tonight, I want to focus a lot on the types of fear that people have. And as an entrepreneur, or you want to be an entrepreneur, and there's fear that comes into play. And I know for myself, it's all been about fear that kept me in a job until I finally exited last July. And it just was for me, it was the fear of failure, fear of rejection, that I wasn't going to make it in business. And I was comfortable. I was complacent in my job. And I finally said, enough is enough. And I was in a lot of pain with the job that I was in, that I just had to make that change. Okay. So, and yeah, you can mute yourself, Janet, if you're hearing noise. If you're not talking, you can mute yourself. So anyway, so that's been my biggest fear. But what would you say, because I'm going to share tonight the types of fear that we all face. And I have an acronym for fear that I want to share with you tonight as well. That really, when I heard it, I was like, wow, this is really something that I really liked. It really resonated with me. So Sarah, Janet, what would you say is the number one fear that people have as an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur? What do you think is the number one fear that people have?
To want to be one, or when you
are?
Yeah, fear of success, fear of the unknown.
Okay, fear of unknown, fear of success. Okay.
Fear of being liked, fear of being ridiculed, fear of embarrassment.
Embarrassment. So Sarah, tonight, Janet and I were talking about, I was going to go live from my Zoom, and I said, oh, I don't want to do that tonight. And I was like, oh, I don't really want to do it, but I'm going to do it next week. We're going to do it.
I do.
All right, next week we're going to do it. We're going to go live to Facebook from Zoom, because I have that feature now. So you mentioned, Janet, ridiculed. So do you really feel that you're going to be ridiculed?
I do. And you know what? It just hit me as I said it. That it feels like it feels like an old childhood thing, you know, like.
Interesting. Okay.
I caught myself as I said it.
Okay.
So, yeah, there must be shame in there or something.
Okay. I know for me, there's always, today I was watching other people that were doing a Facebook Live, and they were just saying, you know, how do you overcome it? You just do it. You embrace it. You just go through it. And the acronym FEAR is fearless, engage, awareness, and release limiting beliefs.
Wow.
And so fearless for the F, fearless. Engage for E, and that's really means step into what is. Like step into it, you know, embrace it, go through it anyway. Okay. Awareness, like be aware of that fear that you have, and why do you have that fear also? Identify the fear that you have and keep asking yourself why. Like if Madeline was on tonight, she had me do this exercise, and basically what it is identify your fear, and then why, 5 times, why do you have that fear? Okay. And like right now I'm going through some personal challenges, and there's a big fear going around this particular situation. And the other day, Madeline and I were talking, and she says, write it down. What are you afraid of? And what's the worst thing that can happen? And you know, when I wrote it out, I wasn't afraid anymore. It was like, I let it go. I embraced it. I released the limiting beliefs, because I had this belief, there was a belief of shame was part of this fear that I had. And then when I was asking myself, what was I ashamed of? It was my own story.
Right.
That I thought maybe my family was going to be ashamed of me. My kids was going to be ashamed of me. Because, you know, as a parent, you always want to be the lead by example, the responsible. And if they see you doing something that doesn't appear to be good or right, that you feel that maybe they're going to not respect you. That was my own story.
Right.
But I was putting that on myself. It wasn't really fear. So my point tonight is that we put a lot of these beliefs on us when they really They're our beliefs, and we hold on to these beliefs, and we are paralyzed by these beliefs, and it limits us because we have these external fears. I mean, okay, there's one thing to say about external fears. I'm not going to go jump off a bridge unless I want to commit suicide. All right. The fear of heights, the fear of jumping off and committing suicide, that's fear. That's external fear. But what are you feeling internally? And like you were saying, Janet, the feeling of ridiculed.
Mhm.
And
Can I chime in? I don't know how interactive this is, so if I'm not
oh, absolutely, chime in.
meant to talk. Okay, so I have a different acronym that I use for fear, and
Awesome.
I agree entirely with everything everyone's saying, and I know that at every single stage of my business, even the success stages, there was a sense of fear, and part of that comes from with everything good, there's a process of letting go, no matter how much you achieve. So even when we're achieving, oftentimes we have this internal fear because we're still losing things, right? There's a change in us, there's a change in our surroundings, there's a change in our language, there's a change in our bank account, whatever it may be. And so my fear acronym is face everything and rise.
Yes, face everything and rise. I heard you say that the other day, Sarah.
And so I go at everything with that aspect of there really isn't anything to be afraid of.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, and you just said it, the only thing that matters when it comes to fear is whether you leave this life not being proud of who you are. And if I choose to not face things and rise above them, when challenge comes, then I do end up leaving this earth at some point with a sense of regret. But when I challenge everything and when I rise to the occasion, when I rise above it, you know, I have this sense of I did what I could. I did what I needed to. I did what I knew. And so for me, I've been able to live this life of no regrets. I mean, I don't think there's anything in my life that I've ever looked back and went, well, you know, I don't feel good about that. I've learned from everything. And so that ability to face everything and rise has become sort of a landmark in my life of whether it's good stress, good fear, bad fear, you still have to rise above it, right?
Okay.
There really is no other option.
Right.
That's a good way.
I like that.
I like that.
Hey,
Face
guys.
everything. Hi, Michelle.
Hey, yeah, I'm sorry. I was in the car with my kids, but I have another acronym for fear also.
Go ahead. I love these acronyms. Go ahead, Michelle.
Okay, mine is focus, educate, action, and result.
Focus,
So,
educate, action, and result.
yeah. So for me, fear is something that is a constant. You know, we always have fear depending on whatever stage we're in with whatever it is we're facing. So
Mhm.
the F part is making sure that you're focusing on the right thing, because if you are focusing on the negative, that's what's going to make you more nervous, paralyze you. So making sure you focus on the right aspect.
Right.
E is educate. So, you know, when we get started, we have all these anxieties about what it's going to take to do these things and unrealistic expectations, really. But it's not until we begin the journey and begin to educate ourselves that we realize, you know what, it's not important that I have A, B, or C as long as I get started. And then those, you know, other things will come along the way. So educating is something that can help calm your nerves to recognize, okay, I don't need to have everything at one time. A is taking action. You can't get any further without doing anything.
That's
And
right.
then of course, R is the result. So once you take that action, you'll get results, and then just keep on going with the cycle over and over again.
That is good. I love the acronyms. I mean, just think of this. If you never rose above it, faced everything, you didn't take action in your life, what would your life look like right now? If you think back to your life of all the decisions that you've done, and I love, Sarah, what you said, which I love your attitude, no regrets. Like, I've had regrets when I've made decisions, but I know that back then I made the decision and I thought at the time it was the right decision. And I know it led me to where I am today. But there's moments that I've had regrets. I'm not going to lie to you that I could have made a better decision.
Does
anybody have a thought about that? But Sarah,
I think,
what do you think of that?
sorry,
Go ahead, Sarah.
I think that when we choose to look at it as a regret, and not to challenge it, but I think that we take away the fact that we learned a lesson.
exactly.
And if the lesson is simply just that at that point in my life, I was strong enough to trust myself to just make a decision, because so many people get stuck in the inability to even decide.
I know.
And so if you can be powerful enough to be in a situation that could end good, could end bad, and you can be powerful enough to make a decision, you have succeeded. And whatever happened, whatever came from that decision, if you can look back now and realize that you learned something from that, then you've done exactly what you were intended to do. You were intended to fail forward so that you now know, and you can now sit in this room with other women and other people and talk about that and be that inspiration. So the success comes from the mindset in how we look at it. And I think that's how I've come to a place where I kind of go, okay, there really isn't any failure in anything that I've done, because it's led me to exactly where I am now, and the challenges I face now will turn into successes later. I don't see it now, but the reality is that every challenge I've ever faced has led me to a different place in my life, and I'm so grateful for that.
I love your attitude, Sarah.
I agree with that too, because that is
Yeah.
so true, because that's a part of reframing. Because if we sit there and focus on the negative, it's harder for you to get past that. So if you're thinking of regrets, or just that name or term is so heavy. And so if you think about it as, for me, what I usually say to myself is, okay, it was an experiment. That way didn't work, so let me try a different way. Keep these variables constant and change something else up. So if you have a different mindset about how you approach things, it really gives you that fuel to keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I love it, because one of the things that I was going to share was that there's 3 types of fear. There's the failure, the pain, and the now, fear of now. Like, really, a lot of times we don't make decisions because we don't believe in ourselves, and we don't take that next step because at a subconscious level, we just don't believe that we're enough. And so we just stay stuck in our position, and we just don't move forward. And so because you don't believe that you can do it, you don't believe you're enough to do it. And so when I love that you look at it as a lesson, because it is a lesson. If you didn't have failures, I mean, how many times have you heard this? All these people that have lost everything and they've made a comeback. They have failed. If you haven't failed, it's not life. I mean, and that's something to, life is not perfect.
Right. Well, and like I would say, even the whole thing of not feeling like you're enough, that is a very good point, because I get like that, when I'm doing something different and new, and what I do is collaborate. That's something that takes the burden off of all of the success riding on me. So whatever I have to do, if I'm beginning to get overwhelmed or something like that, it's like, hey, find somebody that can be accountability partner, or, get a group of people that share the same passion around whatever it is you're doing, because that's a reality. You may not feel like you're enough in this particular venture that you're starting out, that maybe you are new at. It's something that you're not experienced in. But don't let that not being enough stop you from moving forward, because there's so many things that as you keep leveling up and growing, you're going to face a lot of things that you don't feel like you are well versed in.
True.
Yeah,
True.
that's true.
That is
very
so
true.
I even look at having faith. When I look at fear, it's having the faith to really fully allow it to happen. That move through it, like we said, rise above it, face it all, and just rise and have it as a lesson, and not look back, because we only can, focus on today, not focus on yesterday, because it ain't getting us anywhere. And so as an entrepreneur myself, every day, it's been really interesting because this is new to me to be a full-time entrepreneur, having come from a corporate job, and I've had to really think differently. And I'm not going to lie to you, there's moments that I'm like, oh my God, do I really want to continue this? And then I say, okay, yes, I do. Because when I look at where I was, I'm not going there. I'd rather be an entrepreneur because, and there's trade-offs in everything. And I believe that there's trade-offs in everything we do in our life. Okay. Nothing's perfect, but going through it and you just become a different person and you just learn, and the lessons every day is a lesson. Like today, today I'll give you a perfect example. A potential client said to me that my price was too high for redoing, because I also do career coaching, do a resume. And I said, okay, thank you for sharing. I didn't get upset about it. I said, just keep something in mind. You're paying for my expertise and you're paying for the value. So she basically said to me, well, I'm going to have my friend work on it. I'm like, good luck. If you need me, let me know. But my point is that the old Tina would have been really upset. It would have said, I'm going to lower my price.
Right.
And I'm going to, okay, maybe she's right. Maybe my price is too high. And I said to no, because I'm worth it.
Right. Well, another way that I would suggest you handle that too is to ask them what it is costing them to not have their resume like it is. So, based on whatever it is that she's looking for, whatever income, figure out what it's costing her for her not to have that resume done right. And so if she's able to see that, then it's like, what? You're charging whatever? That's nothing compared to the amount of money she's missing out on.
And here's the thing, for just some piece of information, this was a revamping of her resume. This was not just making some edits. So my point is that if I had the fear of the money, lack of money, and if I was coming from the mindset, because this is also part of our mindset, when we have this scarcity mindset, we tap into that fear. Okay, and then we're going to start to discount our worth, charge less because we want to get the clients, and we come from a desperate state. So here comes that fear. And I didn't have that. And I was really proud of myself that I was saying, okay, next. It's okay.
Good for you. Good for you.
Thank you. So that's a learning for me, because this was not something that I just stepped into. It was a journey to get to where I could actually walk away and say, it's okay. And don't get me wrong, I could have used the money, but I know there's going to be others. And wouldn't you know it, another person wants to have a phone conversation with me on their resume.
Awesome. Another thing is, don't be surprised if she comes back to you.
If she what? Oh, if she comes back. Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly. So, let your friend do it. I was okay with it. So fear plays a part in a lot in our life. And so I love what Sarah, Lachelle, I love it. The acronyms that you both have. You've also heard false evidence appearing real. We also have that, where we think things are real, but they're really not. And it's just our own stories that go on in our head. So let me ask you, so what do you suggest? How do you overcome these fears? What do you think is a good step to take? Because I know what I would recommend, but I'd like to hear from you.
For me, the easiest thing to implement is just to breathe first. Okay, because a lot of times we get fearful, we stop breathing right. Yeah.
Yes.
So you need to take a deep breath, center yourself, and think about, what in this scenario can I control and what can I not control?
Yep. Okay.
Good. And a lot of times, we have fear. It's like, I'm thinking all these thoughts, which I can control. So let me kind of get focused here and recognize that I'm doing this to myself.
That's right. We
You see
are.
what I'm saying?
We are doing it to ourselves, because when you think about situations in our life, we make them sometimes worse than they really are.
Mm-hmm.
And when we really look at it and from a different perspective, is it really so bad? I mean, when you take a moment and breathe, take a pause, just like, okay, what's the worst thing that could happen?
Right.
Okay, I think that will alleviate some stress. So anything else, Janet, Sarah, what do you think are some steps to overcome fear?
Just keep trying, keep doing it.
Keep doing. Yes, keep doing. Don't give up. Don't quit. Don't quit. Because you quit, how are you going to feel if you quit?
Right.
Quitting is not an option. You got to
Right.
keep going. You got to keep going. Okay, so keep going. Keep taking action. That was one of the things that I was going to say, is taking action. Do it anyway, in spite of it, embrace it, but be aware of that fear. So like, identify what is the fear and why do you have that fear? Like, because a lot of times it comes from our childhood,
Sure.
our upbringing, and these stories that we say to ourselves come into our life.
Yeah, it's a lot of what we tell ourselves. If we listen to ourselves, that's bad. We need to tell ourselves.
Yeah,
Instead of
exactly.
listening.
Exactly. So that's really, so breathe, keep doing it, taking action. I know we lost Sarah. She probably had to go. Lachelle is on mute. So
Yeah.
just
I'm here. I'm going back and forth because my
I know.
kids, it's crazy time.
That's okay. That's okay. So that was really what I was going to suggest is, really, for me, it's about taking action, moving through it, keep doing it.
Yes. Right.
There's times that you're going to be, the fear of pain,
Yeah.
because it could be painful.
The fear of rejection.
The fear of, hey,
That's a good one.
last week I was rejected 3 times. 3 people said no to me.
Well, Fraser Brooks, do you know who Fraser Brooks is?
No.
He's a network marketer.
Okay.
Over in the UK. And he said, okay, if you get a no, you stand and put your hands on your hands up in the air, and for every no, you do a dance.
Okay.
And celebrate the no's, because you did it. You celebrate the no's, raise your energy, raise your love vibration. It helps to get the energy, get it out.
Okay.
And just for every no, then you could get a yes.
Exactly. And I actually posted it in my group today. I said, get the no's to get to the yes. The no's will lead to the yeses. And it's so true. Because here's the thing, and this is a numbers game, and you all know this. You're making calls, you're connecting with people. How many people are you talking to get to those yeses?
Right. A lot.
If you're not talking to enough people and you get one no, you're like, oh my God, because you haven't talked to enough people to get those no's, to get to those yeses. So it's really about talking to more people, and it's okay. But when you start to question yourself, you start to not believe in yourself, it's a mindset. Then it comes into your mindset.
Right.
And your value.
Yeah,
go ahead.
And I also want to challenge the fact that, I try to keep the negative words out of my vocabulary. So if we think rejection, we think, that's something negative. So it encourages me to listen more, because if I'm doing all the talking, there's a lot that I may miss out on because I'm not allowing the potential client to tell me what they need so that I could be the absolute fit. So, I've just learned through my coaching that if we just be quiet, take notes on what it is that they feel they need, they give us all the information we need on what we can offer them if we're quiet enough to do that.
So true. So true.
So, but a lot of times that's fear, because we're like, oh, I just want to be the best person. I got them on the phone. I'm just trying to get that sale. But if you just realize that, to have faith in the process and understand that I need to be quiet and I need to hear what pain points they have so that I can be the solution.
Exactly.
But if we're doing all the talking, we're not going to be able to show them that. So we pitch the wrong thing.
Right.
And that's where the rejection comes. Because to me, I feel like every opportunity is a positive. It may not be right now, you know, because especially you guys know when you're dealing with coaching or even with your essential oils, Janet, you have to learn to educate people, and that takes a process.
Yes,
Everybody's not going to be like, oh, you know what, I need some essential oils. We have to first educate and say, well, this is why you need them.
Right.
And so that process is like a learning curve before they convert to be a client.
Right.
So if we are mindful of that from the very beginning, we can approach it in a different way. And it's like, you know, if you think, okay, I'm going to have to touch them 7 times in some form or fashion. But then you look up and it's like, wow, I've only talked to them twice and now they bought. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because of how you're doing your job and flipping that and transitioning.
So true.
Right.
The listening is so important. It's really listening, showing empathy to them,
Mm-hmm.
and really listening to understand. Not just
Right.
you got to really listen to your customer, or not even your customer, whoever you're in front of. What is their pain? Listen to them to understand what are their challenges, what are their pain points.
Yeah.
You know, so Janet, you're in the essential oils. Lachelle, I know that you're also in Mary Kay. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And there's a lot of Mary Kay consultants. There's a lot of essential oil people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
What makes you different that they're going to want to buy from you because they know, like, and trust you
Right.
is key. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we come from a place of fear or a place of, oh, my prices are too high, they're never going to buy from me, or no, they can't afford that, so they're not going to buy. So you're already having these thoughts, these fears are coming in, the scarcity mindset is coming in. Oh, they're not going to buy from me because,
Right.
you know, and your fears, your stories are pushing people away.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So well,
go
I
ahead.
think what another thing you can do is, this is something that I'm working on, is getting a piece of paper before you even get on a call.
Yeah.
And have on there your script. What are their pain points? You know, have it blank so that you know this is what your objective is on this call.
Uh-huh.
And if you have to keep having a copy of that every time until you get familiar, it's just like working a muscle. If this is something you haven't been doing, you have to have visual clues to remind yourself about this until you get more experience and that muscle gets, you know, used more.
Exactly.
So just have it on there. Hey, these are the 3 things I got to find out. You know, how quickly do they want to change? You know, how much pain this is causing them, and how can I solve this problem for them?
Exactly. Okay.
And just have those 3 things written down, and that's what your focus is. And if they get off topic, then you go back, well, you know, so how is this a pain for you? See, this way you can stay focused.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Good point, Lachelle. So that's really what I wanted to share with you is, you know, the types of fear. I mean, that fear can be a good thing. And I love, you know, what Sarah said is that, you know, rise above it, face everything and rise. And I mean, Sarah has just a great attitude in general. I mean, she really does. I mean, I just get inspired just listening to her and being part of her community. There is never anything negative about what she says. It's like she's very authentic.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know, Lachelle, you've had her on your show and she's spoken here, and I've been in her community because she's got a Facebook group, Savvy Networker, and she's all about networking and connecting with the right people. But it's really doing your homework before networking, like really being intentional, not just going to any networking event is so important. So, I mean, if we had fear of going to events, fear of speaking like we're doing now. I know we didn't go live on Facebook. Lachelle, you missed it. So
That's
Janet and
okay.
I were by ourselves, and we said, you know what? Maybe I'm going to go here and say, okay, live on Facebook. And so Janet said, do it. And I said, oh, I don't know. I don't want to do it tonight. And so I said, okay, next week, because next week we have a speaker. So I'm going to have her do it because she's the speaker.
See,
So,
now that's the way to do it, because if you have somebody start it, and then that momentum gets going, and then you just like, oh, she did it, and they'll expect that. So that's good. Hey,
so
you got to do whatever works, whatever gets you going. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So
I'm all for that.
Yeah. So next week we're going to have Marla Genova, and she's here in Connecticut. And she speaks about anxiety, about public speaking. So we have fear. So I wanted to bring in, this month was all about eliminating fear, entrepreneurial fear specifically. So I thought of, okay, what would be an example of fear that people really have a lot of? And public speaking is a major, major anxiety that people have, whether it's Facebook Live or public speaking, speaking in front of a group of people. So Marla coaches people on how do you overcome the anxiety, the fear of public speaking. So next week, she's going to share her tips on that. So I'm looking forward to having Marla on next week. Any other last minute thoughts? It's about 7:45. We're almost done. Any final things you want to share about fear and overcoming? Any other suggestions besides breathing? Keep doing it, taking action. I think
another thing is just, being aware of it, because as with coaching, a lot of people kind of try to ignore it, sugarcoat it. But part of being able to make that change is to have that awareness first and acknowledge it.
Yes.
So this is a very good thing, because when you get a potential client, this is something that's real for them. They're talking to you, but then it's like, oh, do I want to invest in this? Or do I really think they can help me? A lot of that is just around fear. So if you're able to kind of have that awareness, bring it up and guide them, see, that's going to give you a leverage where you're using something to say, you know what, I've been there. I was afraid. And, you'll tell those stories. I thought about, that security before leaving my job. And these are some things. It will help you frame your story and really walk them along so much easier by acknowledging that it's there.
Right.
And that's an objection that won't even come up, because if you face it head on, really everything centers around fear for the most part.
It really does. Everything's about fear, everything.
Yeah.
There really does. I mean, and the acronym that I had used at the beginning that I shared, I don't know if you were on, Lachelle, was fearless. So having less fear. Engage, that means step into what is.
I love that.
And awareness, and you just shared that, being aware of it. And R is releasing the limiting beliefs.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so I heard it somewhere and I wrote it down and I had it in my notes and I said, I really like that, because it's being fearless, engage, being aware, and releasing the limiting beliefs, those beliefs that we have, those stories that we keep having in our heads is so, it's just so important. And we miss out, when you think about your fears, you miss out on opportunities.
Right.
If you stay stuck in a fear. Like, I grew up in a family that always put fear in your head. And so, like, I'll give you a perfect example. My daughter today shared with me that she's buying a condo. Oh, Janet, she's buying a condo. My daughter today told me.
Congrats.
So, in Danbury, by the way, Janet. So my daughter rents an apartment, and she now, after 6 years, is buying a condo. So she told me today, I just was so excited. My dad goes back to the fear of being a homeowner, and have you thought of this, and have you thought of that, and have you like putting in all the fears
Yeah.
being a homeowner.
Yeah.
And I'm coaching her through this. And my dad, and so all these thoughts that, oh, Mom, do you think I'm making the right decision? What do you think? I'm like, yes, yes, and yes. So it's scary.
It is.
Yeah.
It's scary. Okay. And but I'm coaching her. Do you know that I was able to free up $400 a month just
Awesome.
by over the phone that she spends? And I said, okay, there's your common charges and a bill. You've just freed up by these expenses that are, and I'll tell you, it's smoking and drinking coffee.
There you go.
She can't.
Okay? $400 a month just on smoking and coffee.
That's a lot.
So I know.
Yeah, cigarettes are a young fortune.
$11 a pack.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh my God.
And she buys a pack a day. She buys a pack a day.
Oh my God.
That's something. But you know what? It's addictive for people. I'm glad I didn't ever had that. Okay?
I never did either. I never did it. So, but my point is this. You can free up. You can find a solution. By the way, Sarah apologized, but her phone died, and that's why she had to get off the phone. She actually sent me sorry. Yeah, because I knew she wouldn't just get off without saying bye. But yeah, so you have to, you have to step into it. And if you don't, you're going to be a miserable person. You're never going to make change. You're never going to grow. And your life will just be boring if you don't take action and you don't embrace it and you're not aware of it and release those beliefs that we hold on to. So I will leave you with that you also get inner peace when you really embrace your fears and step into it, because like Sarah said, rise above it, make it happen, have the faith that it's going to be okay with whatever decision, whatever we do. So I think we had a great discussion tonight.
Awesome.
I think it was good. I really wanted to touch on this and really talk about the types of fear that we have and what stops us and why do we have this and how do we overcome the fears that we have that are, really evident every day. Like we have these fears all the time. And I love what you said, Lachelle, is about the getting rid of the negative words.
Yeah.
For me, every time I have one that's, you just have to be careful. And I think that, when you're intentional and you begin to really start your day with meditation and thinking about how you want your day to be, you begin to recognize things that have been a limiting belief or accepted. Everybody's like, oh, you'll get the no's to the yeses, or, something that's just a common term. And then you begin to think, even I think about this before I do a post. I try not to have any negative words because it just doesn't energize me. So if I say like don't or won't or certain things, it's like, now I try to make sure that it's all positive, because that energy is cut off when you have something negative like that. It's kind of repulsive.
It is.
And we've gotten to the point so much that we have just adopted these things as just being reality or part of our society. And, we're doing things perpetuating that same negativity without really taking notice of what we're doing.
Amen to that one. I mean, it's become so, we're just perpetuating, and we're so conditioned.
Absolutely.
And it's a habit, and we just don't let that go. So,
you have to be very mindful.
Yeah, you have to be mindful of what you're saying. Be mindful of the fear that you have. Be aware of, like Lachelle and we were saying, be aware of the fear and where does it come from? Ask yourself, why do I have this fear?
Right.
You know,
Right.
whatever that fear is, identify that fear. And why is it? Because Madeline, I was telling Janet, I think I said this before, is an exercise that she had me go through is really identify your fear and ask yourself 5 times why for that particular fear. And I got to tell you, by the end of the 5 times, you don't have that fear anymore because you're saying, you know, really, this is not that bad.
Right.
And it's a story that I tell myself. You know, so that's what I'll leave you with is let's turn around the fears, rise above it, and we're going to all be successful, whether you're an entrepreneur or you want to be an entrepreneur. It is possible. Life in general, I don't care whether you're an entrepreneur or you're working at a job, every day there's something that you might be afraid of. And but let's rise above it, face it and rise.
I like that.
Face it and rise. So we are facing and rising above it. So
Yeah.
I
All
will
right.
leave you all with that energy tonight.
Yes.
I will post the replay and I'll also send the email for tonight. And next week will be Marla with anxiety, overcoming anxiety in public speaking.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
All right.
thank
All
you
right.
so much for joining us.
Yes.